welcome to Classic Car Garage, the original classic car restoration TV show. I'm Jeff Shade. Thanks for joining us again this week. Well, as you can see, we're at a different place. That's because Tom has finished up the paint and body work on our 56 Chevy Sedan delivery, and it's time for us to move on now with our restoration. Today we're going to be talking about putting in windshields and also window regulators. So we've come to one of the leading sources in the country for Tri-5 Chevys, and that of course is D&P Chevrolet in Huntington Beach, California. D&P stands for Daryl and Peggy. What do you say we go inside and say hello to Daryl right now? Hey Daryl, how you doing?
Very good, thank you.
Daryl Nance here of D&P Classic Chevy in Huntington Beach, California. As I said outside, Daryl, one of the leading, if not the leading, Tri-5 Chevy restoration shop and expert, all-around good guy place in the entire country. Tell us a little bit more about some of the work that you do here at D&P.
Well, it's a family business at D&P. My wife, my sons both work here with us. Our employees it's like a big family. We many years ago decided that these Tri-5s are great cars, but they needed upgrading. So we slowly started doing a few cars. And after 10-15 years of doing this, our shop is just overwhelmed with all the vehicles we have, and we not only do stock restorations, but we also do full modernization of these cars to make them bring them up to modern standard.
As you said, though, there are a lot of people out there who want the modern ride and performance of a modern car, but still want that classic styling. So you're doing cars, if I'm correct, where people keep the original exterior of the car, but you're putting modern drivetrains in them, right?
Correct. Yeah, the exteriors of most of the bodies look somewhat stock from the outside, but they can fill you. They can have Corvette engines and transmissions and powertrains. We've built cars with complete Corvette suspension underneath them. They handle wonderful. They drive wonderful. With fuel injection, they get great mileage. They're dependable. 2- and 4-wheel disc brakes, air conditioning, every modern convenience that you can get in a new modern car, we can retrofit into the classic car. So you have the best of both worlds, the classic looks, but the modernization that makes that car fun and comfortable to drive. We have a warehouse and metal work department next door, and then we also have a paint shop that has 10 to 15 additional cars that are in the paint process.
Mind if we take a look at the warehouse?
No, let's take a look.
All right, let's go.
Okay.
Here's a perfect example of a car which is a California car, but still has some rust problems, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. Unfortunately, the previous owner of this vehicle left it stored in the backyard on the grass for many, many years. And as you can see, the moisture has actually sucked up into the middle of the floor, and it's done quite a bit of damage into the rockers, the floors, a little bit in the roof, but fortunately we live in a good time. The sheet metal repair panels are currently being made for this vehicle, and we'll cut out all these rusted areas with brand new sheet metal, and we'll have this baby as good as new.
Now, someone may have bought this car for a bargain, possibly over the internet, because of course he couldn't see what he was getting, but economically it just doesn't make sense to begin with a car that's this rusty.
No, it sure doesn't. You should always spend as much as you can to get the best car you can buy for the money. And when a car has carpet and undercoat, it's sometimes difficult to see what you're getting. You should really seek an appraiser or an estimator, someone who's experienced at examining these vehicles. You're going to spend the money one way or the other. You're either going to spend more money and get a better car, or you're going to spend the money later and having to do sheet metal repair work, as we will with this vehicle.
Well, there's a Latin term that I don't quite remember, but it basically translates into buyer beware.
Yes.
And that's what you need to do when you're buying cars like this. Number one thing you want to consider when you buy a car over the internet or on eBay, many times the cars maybe are not what they're reported to be. Also, take a magnet with you when you're looking for your project car. When we come back here on Classic Car Garage, we'll begin with putting in the windows and also dealing with the window regulators on our 56 Chevy. Stay tuned, there's more of the show coming right after this. Welcome back to Classic Car Garage. Well, we're getting set to put in our window regulators. I want you to meet Nick Nance here. Nick of D&P Chevrolet, who is Daryl and Peggy's son, and you also work here full-time, don't you, Nick?
Yes.
All right. Well, what we want to do, Nick, here is show the people at home how they can install window regulators. Now, it's really not that hard a job, is it?
Nah, it's not difficult at all.
If somebody has a little bit of knowledge, of course, and that's what we're going to teach the people right now. Let's take a look, first of all, at these window regulators. Nick, you've got one here which is a reproduction that you sell here at D&P Classic Chevrolet. What's basically the difference between this original and this one?
Difference is this one's a little bit newer, has new springs, new rivets, new rollers, And the bigger difference is that it has a lot less teeth to give it a quicker ratio for rolling up and down.
Okay, so this one has more teeth. It'll take a lot longer for this window to go up. Some of the things that typically go wrong with these window regulators is that these springs wear out, they lose their tension, sometimes they're broken, gear teeth can be stripped, of course, and if you do restore one of these things, you want to be careful not to sandblast it, because of course you'll get sand down in there and it won't work right. If you do restore one, parts wash it at the most, then paint it and put it in. But at this point, Nick, I think you're really a lot more money ahead to be able to just buy a repro like this. They're
Right.
about $150.
Correct.
So I think it's well worth the money. Okay, where do we want to start with this, Nick?
First, we want to start by installing the door latch mechanisms in the door first.
Okay.
Get that out of the way.
So this is going to go right through here. This is the actual lock mechanism here. So I'm going to fish it up through there, try to get the door lock mechanism in the hole. And it should go about like that. Is that about right?
Right. It's getting caught up.
Getting caught someplace.
Yeah.
There we go. You got some more? Okay. Now we'll tighten those up with a screwdriver and move on. Okay, I'll tighten this down. That should just about do it right there. Okay, Nick, what's the next thing we want to do here?
Next thing we want to do is install the door lock rods and mechanism.
Okay, that's this
And that piece
and
right
this
there.
part here.
Right.
Now there's a little clip on this which is on there, I guess, to keep tension on it. The first thing we want to do is take that off, but we're going to reuse that again, right?
Right, both of them on both ends.
Okay, so we're going to put this, actually what we should do is probably put this on here first, don't you think?
Correct.
Okay. Goes on like that. And this goes on like here, and then clips on basically like that. So that's going to keep that on there.
Just like that.
Okay, now this goes like this, and then this goes back through here.
Right.
So we're going to want to put this on.
And the clip.
And the clip. And I have another clip. Where did I put it? Right in back of me here. It gets a little tricky trying to fish this through here, but it can be done. And that's how that works, roughly. A few screws there. Okay, we'll tighten these up. Okay, one of the things we had to redo here, of course, was to put the insulation back on this little rod here to keep that from rattling. That had fallen off and we overlooked it. Okay, so next step here is going to be putting in this window channel, right?
Right, that's to support the fuzzy so the window rolls up and down.
Okay, so this is going to go through here, actually goes right up through the channel here. And there's a little stud that it sort of sits on right down here too, which gets a little tricky putting it on, but we will get it. Next step is what?
The window channel guide.
Okay, now this little actually roller here is what this goes on, right?
Right.
So
that connects to there, and that helps support the angles of the window.
I see. So it just snaps right on there, and we're going to pull it up through here and align it with these particular holes right here, right?
Correct.
Okay. And again, I would imagine we don't want to tighten any of this down.
No, not until you're finally done
it's completely
installing.
done. Everything's installed. So we're going to leave this loose. We learned that lesson just a few minutes ago. There we go with that. Okay, that's nice and loose. Okay, next step.
Next step is installing the vent window frame so that you can adjust your fuzzy strip that goes around.
Okay, So this is going to take a little bit of time, but this basically goes in through here, right? Actually through here.
Turn like that.
That sort of thing. And that's the way that goes. Okay.
We'll be right back with more of installing our window regulators when Classic Car Garage continues.
Okay. Now we're just going to put this in temporarily here, right, Nick, so that we
Correct.
can adjust where the fuzzy actually goes. Then we're going to take this back out.
Yeah, we'll take it out later after the next step.
Okay, so next step is going to be putting the fuzzy in.
Correct.
Okay, and how does that work?
Most of them usually will come pre-bent to the angle, so you just have to straighten it out. And pretty much like that. You just want to get straight angles so that it doesn't make any waves or anything in the body.
So slide that down into the door frame, actually. There you
Right. Careful not to gouge the paint. And we need to cut those ears off.
Let you do it from there. Okay. Now this is just going to fit right up into there, right?
Right, it goes flush up against there. And then it's going to bend to the angles of this. So you have a nice clean line from the outside.
Okay. Okay, we're still flush over here. I'll hold this flush up against the vent window.
Right.
So we're really just bending this into shape, right?
Right. Then it tucks into that guide that you put in the side of the door.
Oh, right, the guide I just put in there. And how does this stay in there?
Usually from the factory they put little screws in there.
Along the bottom?
Yeah, and silicone also.
Okay, and then how are you going to keep this in there? Same way?
Same way, screws
okay,
and
so we've got
silicone.
little screws we need to put in there.
Right.
But now that we have this bent, the next step then is going to be to take this out.
Take this back out and attach this, and then put the glass inside this frame, and then put it back in the car.
Okay. Tell you what, I'll take this off, and we'll grab the glass and continue with the next steps.
Okay.
Next step here is to run a nice bead of silicone down the entire length of the fuzzy here in order to make it stick. And then we're going to put the screws in to keep it stuck there. Put a little more up there. Okay. And it doesn't have to go all the way down to the bottom. Just to
keep it watertight.
Right, just approximately to the bottom of the door frame there. And as you said, Nick, it's just to keep it watertight, basically. So, want to feed that back down through there for me? Being careful to keep it away from the door frame until we get it to exactly where we want it, right?
Correct.
Okay, and that should be about it. And again, we have our space sticking out over here that's going to meet the vent window on this side. Okay, so that's going to hold that. Next step is to put the screws in, right?
Put the screws in to keep it in place.
Okay, I'll let you do that. Okay, Nick, well, you put that screw in. There you go.
There we go.
Next step is going to be putting the window in, right?
Right.
Actually putting the window glass in. This glass, by the way, is date coded to match the car. It's actually etched in there, and we'll show that. This is glass going to be bought through D&P, right?
Correct.
Because if you're doing a correct restoration, that's what you want. Everything's got to match in terms of dates and numbers. Okay, so how do we go about putting this in there?
First we have to take out the 4 screws.
Okay, take these 4 out, and those are right there. Those are Phillips head screws.
All right.
Okay, now that we have the 4 screws out, Nick, I'll lay these aside here. Next step.
You have to install this window track before the window.
Okay, so how do we go about doing that?
On the regulator, there are 2 rollers that
Okay.
should be equal from each other. You stick this in the door, it rolls along one, and you reach over and you feel, and it's on the other one now.
Okay. So you want to attach the, actually that's all there is to that, right?
That's all there is to that.
Okay, good.
Now you insert the window.
Okay, if you want to give me a hand with this in terms of guiding it.
Turn it around.
Oh, that's right, because we have the date code. Okay, you grab that. I just want to grab the other side of it, make sure we don't drop it. It would be a disaster of epic proportions. Okay, there you go.
Now it should be on top of that track and you put in the 4 screws.
Okay, let's take a look and see if it is. And it is. It's resting right in that track that we put across there on the bottom. Perfect. That's the way we want it to go. Okay, now the 4 screws that I had originally taken out. Go right in here, right?
Correct.
Okay. Guide it to the right point. Nice and tight, and that should do it. Okay, next step, Nick.
Next step is we want to install the fuzzy along the top of the door.
Okay, and we have that where?
It is on the table.
Okay, if you want to grab that. So far, so good. This is something, by the way, that if you want to do yourself, you should budget about 1.5 hours to 2 hours to do. And it is a lot easier if you have someone help you do it too, to sort of handle glass and run and get things like fuzzies also, like Nick is doing here. Okay, there's your fuzzy.
First step, we have to roll down the window all the way.
Okay, so we're going to need a window regulator, right?
There's a handle right over there.
Okay. And for the kids watching, yes, there were days when they did not have power windows. That appears to be as far as that goes now.
Okay.
They're just little clips that go right in the little holes there. May have to be slid over just a little bit in order to make them work, but they will go in.
Except from the clips fall. Okay, we're gonna have to reattach the clips.
Okay, we can do that again.
Okay.
Okay, so glasses in, fuzzies are in, regulators in. Next step.
Next step is install the vent window assembly and the vent window.
Okay, you want to put the glass in first?
Correct.
Okay. So, how do we go about doing this now?
This will go like this.
Okay, just slide it right down through there.
Because it closes into the lock. Correct.
Just slide it right down through there. Pretty self-explanatory for the most part. A little tricky up here, though.
Correct. You want to open it at a 90-degree angle.
Go ahead and pull that under there. Oh, we almost had it.
Get it in the center of the rubber and push until it goes right into the hole.
Here it is. Okay. That's roughly it. Just like that. Okay.
And lock it so it stays in place.
Okay. Now, slide this back down through the way we did before.
Correct, right through there.
Okay, we got a little glass to deal with now, which we didn't before, but confident that it'll go in there. Okay, that's the last screw in the vent window mechanism, and Nick, I would imagine all we have left is this, the regulator for the vent window, right?
Right, that opens and closes it.
Okay, so there are a total of 5 screws. There are 2 that go on the top, which we'll access through here. There's 1 through here, and there are 2 at the bottom. Correct. So I'm going to try to feed this up through the bottom. There's a little chrome shaft at the bottom of this vent window that should go right in there.
Right.
Theoretically, it should go in there easily, but... Okay, Nick, this is the last screw of all 5 of those. And then next step is going to be adjusting the window, right?
Adjusting the window so it goes up and down.
How are we going to do that?
Grab the handle.
Okay, which is right here.
Correct. And this is the one for the windows.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see, it's pretty tight because it's not adjusted.
Mm-hmm. Okay, And the adjustment on that is
The
where?
adjustment in the sedan is right here in the window.
Okay, is there.
It's right here. You just want to make sure it's even right there, and just tighten it up.
Okay, so even out the top, and then tighten those up.
Right. And you want to make sure all the rest of your screws are tight, the regulator and all those.
Okay, just double check all of those at this point in time.
That should be it.
Okay, so that is it. That goes all the way up. It's perfect.
Goes all the way up.
And that's the way it should go. Again, it takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours to do a job like this. And if you do it yourself, you can save a lot of money and have some fun too.
Join us next time when we install the windshield on Project 56 here on Classic Car Garage.